Alright, so the Water Elemental Hero deck that uses Mask Change, as well as Fusion Gate and Dimensional Explosion with some Atlanteans. Probably the best hero deck I've been able to actually get to work. I made a couple videos on it a while ago, except I completely forgot to make a deck list for it. So, there's 3 title, 1 Atlantean Dragoons, double Ocean, triple Bubble Man, double Marksman, triple Ice Edge, triple E-Call, 1 Reinforce, triple Miracle Fusion, 1 Salvage, double Dimensional Explosion, double MST, triple Mask Change, 1 Super Poly, triple Fusion Gate, 1 Sixth Sense, 1 Return, 1 Bottomless, double Dimensional Prison, and 2 Dimensional Slides. For the extra deck, we have 1 of all the Omni Heroes, plus double Mask Hero Acid. We have 3 Absolute Zeros instead of just 1, because the whole deck is about this guy. 1 Mask Hero Vapor, just in case. Probably won't ever bring him out though, because this one's way better. The Bahu Mach Shark, Abyss Dweller, Nightmare Shark, and Leviathan Dragon. Second though, I should probably put in the other level 3 monster, since his deck does deal with a lot of removing from play. I forget what his name is though. Leviathan Dragon? Yeah, this guy. Let's just substitute that in. It probably benefits this deck more. Because the whole thing about this deck is, the whole reason I was using only water monsters is so the Atlanteans can gain their effects when they get detached. But this would probably benefit the deck more than having the Atlanteans activate their effects, which you can still do kind of with this guy, but not so much so. It's not really a big deal, because this deck's all about Absolute Zero. As you see, you run 5 banished cards for your opponent, that way you can actually activate Dimensional Explosion, and because banishing your opponent's monsters is awesome. Dimensional Prison is great, Dimensional Slide. You do special summon a lot in this deck. You don't really get to activate its first effect, where you can activate this card on your first turn very much, because this deck doesn't really go for XYZ plays too often, but it can. But it's not really the main focus of this deck. You usually just use this on your opponent's turn, or on your turn when you're bringing out Absolute Zero. So yeah, Ice Edge, you have this little thing where you have to discard a card to activate its effect, where you can attack directly and then destroy one of your opponent's. Is it just any? It's a set card. That means if they have a continuous, they can just flip it up and gain its effect anyway. So yeah, if you discarded Atlantean Dragoon or Atlantean Marksman, you gain their effects. Dragoon to search out Atlantean, or Atlantean to destroy a face-up monster. And Ocean Bubble Man, just because you want as much water monsters as possible for Fusion Gate, or Miracle Fusion if they're all in your grave. This deck is very Turbo-esque in that it doesn't have any longevity, because it doesn't really play too many monsters. It only has 14, but they're all water monsters, and half of them are heroes, so you can easily go for Absolute Zero. The other ones are all for Super Poly. I did run 2 of them. It's just I did update the deck by taking out a Super Poly and added in Sixth Sense, because this deck does benefit from mill, because it does run a Dragon Ruler. And a single Salvage plus Miracle Fusion, there's more than enough reasons to have your guard, have these guys in the grave. Thing with Dimensional Explosion. When you use its effect on Absolute Zero, since it's a quick play, you can use it after he attacks. Return 0 to your Fusion deck, special summon 2 of your banished monsters, because usually they're going to be banished with your Miracle Fusion or Fusion Gate. And special summon out 2 of your monsters. It can be any 2, it doesn't have to be just ones that were involved in a fusion summon. You just have to return a fusion monster to activate its effect. And you need your opponent to have at least 1 monster in order to activate this effect. That's why I run 5 banished cards. Dimensional Prison, Bottomless, and Dimensional Slide. Because you need your opponent to have at least 1. You could also just substitute the 2 Dimensional Slides for a DD Crow. That way it's a lot easier to banish a card from your opponent's grave, just so that you can activate Dimensional Explosion. But I would rather run a card that's, can potentially save me. So DD Crow is a solid option too. What is it? Mask Change is just good on its own. bring out Ice Edge, Bubble Man, Hero, or even Absolute Zero. Return them to the deck. Does it return it, or does it send it to the grave? Yeah, it sends it to the grave, which means Zero will gain his effect to destroy all your monsters. Bring out Acid to destroy all your opponent's spell and traps. So yeah, you can clear their entire field with a Zero mass change into an Acid combo. Zero and Acid are really good. And that's what makes this deck work, because you can just completely wreck your opponent with it. I do run double MST just in case they run Skill Drain. Like, I can't run a deck without at least 2 MSTs because I've been screwed over so many times with a continuous spell or trap card that just, like, single-handedly won them the game just because I didn't run MST, because I thought, oh, I have lots of monsters in my deck that can remove spell and traps, but that doesn't work if there's a Skill Drain out. For this deck, it can't really get around Skill Drain without those. But yeah, that's like the main weakness of this deck. And MST is so good in so many different situations that you just need to run it. I feel like there's something I'm forgetting here. I only run 2 Oceans because I couldn't really find a card to take out to add in a third one. Because there's no real reason to. You'd probably take out Salvage and add in a third one, but you don't really need it. Bubble Man is better since you can go for possibly XYZ plays with him, and Ice Edge is to activate the Atlanteans. So he's pretty good. He can also ditch the Dragon Ruler to the grave, attack directly and destroy one of your opponent's monsters. Ice Edge is better than Ocean. Bubble Man is better than Ocean, so I didn't really have enough room to run 3 of it, so it's only 2. You don't really need 3 Atlanteans. Because this deck is all about going to Absolute Zero, using Dimensional Explosion on him, because his effect will activate after your opponent's monsters are special summoned, so it doesn't matter what monsters they choose, you're going to get destroyed immediately because of Zero, and you should like only be using it on Zero, and Zero should be out all the time if you run this deck correctly. Well, unless you only get out 1 fusion play with Super Poly. So yeah, Zero to a Dimensional Explosion to clear their field, and then bring out 2 monsters, preferably 2 Dragon Rulers because they have really high attack. And they'll return to your hand at the end of the turn, but probably Atlantean Dragoon, Ocean maybe, or even Ice Edge, doesn't really matter. What does matter is destroying your opponent's monsters and special summon out 2 monsters because of it. Mass Change, same thing. Switch out Zero into an Acid, destroy your opponent's monsters, destroy all the spell and traps, and possibly go for 2 attacks. Fusion Gate is so that you can banish your own monsters, because Miracle Fusion, just along with Dragon Rulers, it's a good way. You can just go into an Ocean, into a Waterfall, and then add another Waterfall to your hand with his effect. So yeah, Fusion Gate's good. There's no reason to have Terraform to search it out, since you also have Miracle Fusion to go into Fusion Summons as well. So you have 6 cards at Fuse in this deck, which is all about Fusion, which is more than enough. 5 cards to banish. Return from a different dimension can win you the game on its own. 6 cents. If you draw the cards, awesome. If you mill, that's fine too. And for the extra deck, it's just water monsters, so that you can activate the Atlanteans. Just like I added in Leviathan Sea Dragon, because I just found out while I was making the video that that's probably a better option than what I had.